Hi, happy Friday. Hello, hello. Yes. Hey, Sophia. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Welcome. welcome, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Friday. Yes. Hello. Thank you for joining. Hey, Darren. I'll let a few more people come into the room, but of course I need to throw up some photos. We lost a giant this week, and I want to raise up his name. I know my girl Crystal, who'll be on just a moment, she knew him as well, and we are just going to definitely make sure we call his name today. My beloved Greg Tate. Yes, let me go find his photo. Ugh. Hey, Crystal, I see you. Yes. Ugh. My beloved Greg Tate. We lost a giant this week, people. We really did. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I got my little music going on. And in my hotel room. Hey, Monique. Yeah, just a few more seconds of that. Yes. Thank you for being here. Happy Friday, dannIGeeLive. Yes. So welcome to dannIGeeLive Friday. I am coming to you from my hometown of Philadelphia. I'm in my hotel room in Center City. Hey, Kate, I'm in Philly. Hey, Ern. So before I bring in my guest, and she can definitely speak to him as well, this was our beloved Greg Tate, and we lost him this week, tragically, suddenly. That's all I can speak to about that. But just to give you, again, I would not have been some of the places that I've been because of this man right here, and he's just a godsend to us. And the reach that this man had through music, through his scholarships, through journalism, through dance, through just all of it, the culture. He was culture, and he loved Black people. He loved us. And so it's a huge loss. And hey, Jeremy, my brother Greg Tate, back in 1996, beginning of 97, I had to leave Alvin Ailey with my injury. And I was floundering. I was lost. I really was. And the gentleman I was dating at the time, that following summer in 97, we were, walking around Astor Place in New York City, and we came across Greg Tate sitting on his throne, which was on the side of Barnes & Noble's there in Astor Place. He was just always there, apparently. And we started talking, and my friend said to Greg, she's from Ailey, and she's trying to break into music and whatever. And so, Greg didn't know if I could sing. He didn't, but that's how generous he was. He was open-hearted. He was so kind, and he just invited me to audition for his band, which at the time, the iteration was Medusa Oblongata. And so a few days later, I said, sure. I didn't have anything to lose. Again, I just left Ailey. I was lost in the sauce, not knowing what my future was going to hold. And I went to his place in Harlem on Edgecombe Avenue, where he still lived to this day. And Sharif Simmons, the poet, was also there. And we went over a couple of things. I sang a couple of things, and he invited me into the band. And that was in 97. And I have to credit Greg with welcoming and introducing me to the music scene of New York, and everyone that I met thereafter: Jessica Care Moore, Lisa Jessie Peterson, Sharif Simmons, Mikkel Banks, Vernon Reed, Tamara Colley, just on and on, Alice Smith. I just can't even tell you, Saul Williams. I mean, the list, it goes on and on. And then also, too, as part of that group, I started my own band because I was singing with Jessica Care Moore after having met her. Someone saw me singing, said to me, do you have a band? And I was like, yes. And I started my band with some members from Greg's band. And, we rocked and rolled for another 15, 16, 17 years. But also in that group of people was Freedom Bradley, who was an actor, a poet himself. And years later, he became the director of theater at Summer Stage. So in 2006, 10 years later, I get a call from Freedom, and he's saying, hey, they're looking for a new dance programmer at Summer Stage, and will you please come and interview? And I was like, what? No. But he insisted, he encouraged me, and I got the job. Here I am, 2021, still at Summer Stage. But over that time, I've still gotten to work again with Greg Tate. I presented him with a dance piece, Patience, choreographed by Stephanie Batten-Bland for her company SBB. So we were just in and out of each other's lives. He always called me DG. What's up, DG? And my heart goes out to all of us because, again, we have just lost a giant. I believe there's going to be a memorial next Saturday at the Apollo, I believe. I'm brokenhearted that I can't be here. I will be away. But if you can, please go, pay your respects, call his name, shout his name to the rooftops, because he is important. He is important to all of us and to the culture. So we love you, Greg. We will miss you. I pray to your family, your son, your grandson, your daughter, your brother, just your extended family, which I am honored to be a part of. And see you on the other side, brother. See you on the other side. So for Greg Tate, yes. So with that, my hands are shaking. So with that being said, thank you for allowing me to do that. Again, I am here in Philadelphia, and I'm here to honor the great Joan Myers Brown and the 50th anniversary of my beloved company, Philadanco. They were supposed to celebrate their 50th anniversary last year, but we know what happened, so they're getting to do it now at the Kimmel tonight. So I'm going to do this live with my girl, DJ Crystal Clear. And let me bring up her amazing photos. Okay, look at this diva, honey. I'm so happy she agreed to do this with me today. And so just a quick bio on Crystal. Crystal Durant, DJ Crystal Clear, is an internationally known DJ who is based in New York. She was in Philly for years and has gigged regularly with Questlove, King Britt, my homies, right? Cosmo Baker, Rich Medina, yes, Diplo, Lee Jones, and more. She's also a singer, a rock show producer. Her legendary Purple Rain tribute, Pills, Thrills, and Daffodils. She has her Who tribute band, These Kids Are All Right, and F-Bomb. She is a podcaster. She has an original versus cover with DJ Crystal Clear, which actually the link to her podcast is in my bio, so please check it out. And her portraits, and she's also a model and a muse at the Arts Student League of New York, and her portraits are in their permanent collection. Okay. She's a graphic designer, an artist, an art educator, and a public school advocate for 30 years, a writer, pop culture demolition specialist for several websites, professional storyteller. Check her out with Tuesday Night and Risk, Black equity activist, and she kicks ass, takes names, and lots of photos of everything. I love that. Now, to be honest, we followed each other for years on social media, and I did not get to meet her in person until literally this summer. I came down for, I forget what show it was, but it was also my friend Lee Jones, DJ, his birthday. And so I met him for a drink, and he was with Crystal. No, he was in New York. I'm sorry, I take that back. We were both in New York. And I finally got to meet her in person. So before I bring her in, I just want to bring in one more photo because she is just glam divine down. I love this photo, right? In your face. In your face, in your face. Thank you guys for joining me today. This has warms my heart because, again, this was a tough week, but here we are pushing through. This was upside down, but that's how the picture is. She's just gorgeous. Okay, let me get out of here so I can go find her and bring her in. The glorious Crystal. All right, yeah. Turn the volume up. She coming in. She coming in. Uh-oh. Let me try one more time.
Oh, I'm here. Hi.
Yes, queen. Yes.
So this is a portrait of me that was just gifted to me this week.
That is amazing.
How about that?
Oh my God.
Pretty great, right?
Is this from one of your students?
This is one of the students at our Students League.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty.
You look fabulous.
Awesome.
Hey, Intrified. Oh my God, everybody is here. This is awesome. That is fabulous.
Hey, Barty.
First of all, thank you for doing this. I know you were running from modeling, and I got a dash like right at 6:55 for this thing at Philadanco.
Yeah.
But And also, I just want to say too, I'm not at my home Wi-Fi, so if anything sounds wonky, guys, or freezes up, please forgive me because I'm at the mercy of the hotel's Wi-Fi. But how are you? You look amazing. Come on, hair.
Thank
Come
you,
on,
girl.
glasses.
Hello, how you doing, girl? How you doing? I'm pooped because I worked all day and running around, and my friend, my homegirl Valentine, who is my boss, who got me this job at the Art Students League 6 years ago. So that is a little tribute to her as well. But I see a bunch of my friends on here, Gary
Kramer, I see you,
and
Keith.
Barty. It's like, Magic Mirror. Well, what's that show? Remember that show, the kid show? It's like, I see you. So, yes, so I'm very happy to be here and finally make it. Hooray!
Yes, we were trying to hook this up for weeks, but
Yes.
and not to drop the spirit, but I mean, I realized too, you also knew deeply Greg Tate. So just if you could share your story with Greg about Greg and how you guys met.
I met Greg in 1985 when they just started BRC, the Black Rock Coalition. And I was out of college and I was here, living here for a minute with an ex-boyfriend, and I was on my way to Los Angeles. And so that night was when I met Vernon Reed and Do Some Living Color and a bunch of other people. One of my cousins, Kevin Eubanks, the jazz musician.
He's your cousin?
Yeah, he's my cousin on my daddy's side. Yeah, Kevin, Robin, Shane, Dwayne. Yeah, our uncle was Ray Bryant, the jazz pianist who wrote the Madison. Yeah, so Kevin took me there, and it was just like, yeah, we're gonna do this Black Rock Coalition thing, blah. And it was like, all right. So I went and we had this informal meeting and impromptu thing, and it was really cool. And Greg was there, and he was like, well, come on, sister. DJ Crystal Clear, we need you. BRC needs you. New York needs you. And I said, well, I'm moving to Los Angeles in maybe a month or so. I'm out. And he goes, don't go there. It's a viper pit. You got to stay in New York. New York needs you. Don't leave. And I was like, dude, I got to go. Like, I had plans. So during the course of the 5 years I was in LA, I would always fly back here at least once a year or sometimes twice a year in the summer and in the winter because I miss the weather, as crazy as that sounds. And I would bump into him all the time, and it was 88 or whatever, and it was after Coming to America came out. And we were at a party, and I walked in, and he was like, oh, my queen to be, he was doing the OHA thing. And so every time I saw him after that, he would sing that song every time he saw me, and it was ridiculous. So I just saw him about a month ago. We bumped into each other on 125th outside of the Apollo, and walking down the street towards each other, and he's like, my queen to be. And all these people are like, what is going on? And this lady's like, congratulations on getting engaged. And we just howled with laughter. It was so funny. Oh my gosh.
I read that, and that's how I knew you knew him, because I read that on your page. Like, oh my God. So we had to at least bring him up for the first part of this.
Definitely. And he was the epitome of Black culture. And like I posted, people, if you don't know who he is, you got to read his book. Start with Fly Boy and the Buttermilk. Look him up on where you get your books, and read his shit, because he is the real deal Holyfield. He did not play. And I got to sing with Burnt Sugar one time, and it was a lot of fun. And some other shows. Do you know Stu from the Negro Prop? So Stu. So I gigged with them and all this other stuff. So yeah. So he will be missed very, very much.
I mean, I haven't seen him in the flesh in a minute, but we did work together digitally. This past February, we were still doing stuff online with Summer Stage, and I was tasked with putting together a Black History Month something. And so I collected just snippets of all the artists that we had presented digitally from 2020 on. And so I asked him if he would do the intro, and he did. And it was just so great. I remember the last email I got from him, because I asked him like in December, and then I kind of followed up with him, and he was like, so what are we doing again? Like, that was the email. And he was like, yeah, whatever you need. And I just, it's I still can't believe it. This is a hard one.
Totally crazy. And then Mike Nesmith died today, and I'm just like, what the fuck, man? This is how we know we're getting old, that our heroes in their 70s and 80s, it's starting to roll, which is a terrible thing, but it's the circle of life. What are you gonna do?
Right. And that's why part of me like this week, you know, I had all these things to do this week, dance things to go to, even coming down here, doing this chat today. And there was a part of me that just wanted to stay in bed and not do any of this. And I was like, no, no,
Yes.
no, no, no.
Gotta
We've
do
got to
it.
push forward.
Yes.
He pushed us. So we're going to stop
Definitely.
now. You know,
Can't
great
stop.
the
Can't stop,
confidence
won't
in the
stop.
voice. I can't stop. And you know what's
Can't stop, won't
crazy?
stop.
I tried to do a little live earlier today when I first got here to Philly, and my dad passed in 2018, and you know when I hit Philly, I got to my hotel here on 19th Street. I went out to get some coffee, and this brother was pulling into the parking lot, and the song that was playing out of his car was "Ain't No
Stopping
Stopping Us
us
Now."
now.
Right?
We on the
It
move.
was so
Yes.
perfect,
McFadden
and that
and
was my
Whitehead,
dad's.
Philly International,
Yes.
you know?
Yes, and that was one of my dad's favorite songs. I was like, "Oh,
Great.
come on!"
Yes, that was like the third
So
Black
what's going
national
on,
anthem.
Queen? Yes. So
Yes.
tell everybody what's going on for you, what we can look out for, what you're up to. Just give us everything.
So what's going on for me now is I'm still at the league modeling, but I'm determined to make this my 6th and last year. I've been writing
Mm.
stories about it. I want to turn it into a book, do a one-woman show. I was going to do it last year, and then COVID happened. But my end game is a television show because it would make a perfect TV show. Because I started this job at 50 years old.
Yes.
It's something, as an artist and an art educator, I've worked with models before. Never ever thought that I would be one. Never aspired to do it. Never like what? And I just fell ass backwards into it. It was like the man I fell in love with, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, broke up with me. I was out of my mind. And then my friend, my homegirl Valentine, got this job as the model coordinator there. She calls me up a couple months after everything fell apart. And then she's like, hey, can you come and run some sides with me? Because I have an audition. She gave me the address of the place. And at first I was like, where is this? But then I remembered, because when I was a kid in the 70s, so I was born in Philadelphia, but I was raised in Allentown, Pennsylvania. My parents were from Philly. And my father was an electrical engineer, and he was the first Black electrical engineer in a managerial position ever hired at Bell Labs.
Wow.
So, yeah, he was a math teacher in Philly and realized it was a dead end and got recruited. So, you know, packed up my mom, and she was pregnant with me, and he worked at Bell Labs, lived in the YMCA for 2 years, saved his money, finally got land, designed, had our house built. The house was finished in May. I was born in June. We moved in July of 65. So, so I grew up in Allentown, but throughout my childhood, between like 6 and 18, I would spend half of my summer vacation in Philly and half of it up here, because I had an uncle who lived in the South Bronx. So I was here for Summer of Sam, the beginning of hip hop. I was going into CBGBs when I was 13, 14, 15,
Yes.
Max's Kansas City,
Yes.
you know, Studio 54, like you name it. So I took classes at the league when I was a little kid, like for one summer. And so she's like, yeah, I got this job here. So I go there, and she's like, all right, let me go to the bathroom, and then I'll take you to lunch. But here's the paperwork. So you got to sign this, fill this out, do this, blah, 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 that. And then I could probably get you into a class in a week. And I was like, what are you talking about? Get me into a class of what? And she goes, well, I need models because, you know, people just left and got new jobs. So fill this out, do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait a minute.
Wow.
Hold it. I said, I just turned 50 years old. Do you really think that I'm going to start posing nude in front of people? This is what you're thinking? She's like, just fucking fill out the paperwork. And so she went to the bathroom, and I sat there and I thought, you know, this is why I live in New York. And I filled out the paperwork. And then 2 days later, I had a job interview for an after-school program to teach visual art. And I got the job. So then 2 days after that, yeah, I got the job, but it was just going to be after school part-time. So then the next day she calls me and she's like, hey, I got an open sketch class on Friday night from 6 to 7:30. You know, come in and do it. It's short poses, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I knew what they wanted, short poses. So it's like doing gestures. So yeah. I got 2 broom handles, a child-size hula hoop, an adult-size hula hoop. I had fabric and elastic band and a robe, and I had all these poses all figured out. So I go there, she introduces me to the class and the monitor. And then I'm standing there with this fabric wrapped around me, ready to go. And I have all my stuff set up. And then this guy walks in. I see him out of the corner of my eye. And it was the guy who interviewed me for the teaching job the day before. So I'm standing there about to take my clothes off. And I'm like, what the fuck? So he walks in and he gives his ticket to the monitor. And he looks and he's like, what? Because I'm standing on this platform. And I'm just like, doo-doo-doo. And he says, hey, hi. And I was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, so yeah. And I was like, well, this is great. So he sits down. I said, how long have you been taking classes here? He said, oh, since I was a kid. And I said, oh, that's cool. And he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm about to be your model, obviously. And he goes, oh, okay. So it was a little weird. But then I said, then the class comes in, there's a minute left. The monitor says, okay, here are the rules, blah, blah, blah. This is Crystal, she's new, da, 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 da. So there's 30 seconds left. And I said, well, you know, Steve, or whatever his name is. I said, you know, Steve, this is going to be interesting. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, you're kind of coming in at a slight deficit. And he goes, what are you talking about? And I said, well, you're going to be the first man ever to have the pleasure of seeing me nude, but without the benefit of having sex with me. And the whole class busted out laughing, and that broke the ice. And it was like, beep, beep, beep. And I took the fabric off, and then boom, like hit my first pose. And that's how it started.
Take me back, though. Were you just okay going in and knowing that you were going to be nude? Like, were you nervous?
I wasn't nervous. It was just like, I just had kind of a sense of calm over me, I guess. Through my life, I don't think I've ever really gotten nervous about anything. It's just like, well, this is what's happening. You got to deal, you know, I got to deal with it. And
have you been naked in public before?
No, I had not. I had not. Yeah, that was my first time. And then what was even kookier was that there was so the etiquette in any of these classes, drawing and painting classes, when the pose is over, everybody applauds for you, right? You know, like thanking you for, because it's a privilege to have a live model in front of you. So the class is over, and this one girl, she's like, oh my God, you're the best model I've ever seen. And she's like screaming and clapping and jumping up and down. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, thanks. This is great. So then she says, oh my God, you have to go to Sharon Sprung's class. One of the instructors there. And I said, I don't know who a Sharon Sprung is. I don't know what you're talking about. You're going to have to talk to the instructor to talk to Valentine. Like, I don't know how this works. This is my first class. And she's like, ah. So then a week later, I went in and I was on standby. So that means like I hang out in case a model drops the booking. So a model dropped a booking and they're like, oh, you're going up to studio, whatever, Sharon Sprung's class. And I was like, oh, so I finally get to meet Sharon Sprung. So there was another model in there already posing. So it's the first 5-minute break and I walk in and everybody turns around and it was like, woo, you know, and the girl goes, that's her. That's the model I was talking about. And everybody's like, oh, well, oh my goodness. So that was my first long pose. It was a 3-week pose where I had to sit absolutely still. Yeah. And it's a very intense job because people are like, well, you're just sitting there or standing there. But it's like, no, because I'm in a room surrounded by people staring at me and there's a specific energy, a give and take. And then there's an artist's gaze. And then it's like, I'm alone with my thoughts in my head because the room is so cotton. It is like pin quiet. And everybody is focused like people with binoculars, like trying to see all my pores and everything. It's bananas. So what I did was, because I couldn't afford to see my shrink, so I worked out my previous relationship and getting broken up with for like those 3 weeks. And then I was done with it. And then just moved on from there. So now I have the ability, if I were to be kidnapped and somebody threw me in a tank filled with spiders or snakes or whatever, that's nothing. I can sit right through that. No problem.
Well, hopefully not. Right.
Yeah, hopefully that won't happen, but I can handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the only other person that I think I know of that I know closely that's done modeling like this. My roommate Trance, he did a lot of modeling for FIT.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, the connection there was also one of our musician colleagues, comrades, Mark Lessereau. Do you know Mark Lessereau?
Oh yeah, I know Mark. Yeah, I've done gigs with him. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he would tell me about that, and you know how at times he would get aroused, and it would just be like, okay, whatever, you know.
Whatever, dude. I mean, and I've had men get aroused looking at me, you know, which gets a little weird and freaky. But yeah, it's very odd. And then the league, the majority of the students there are senior citizens because, like, who do you know your age or younger who has the time, number one, and the money, number two, even though it's the least expensive atelier in the city, definitely probably in the country. It's less than $300 a month for a full-time class, 5 days a week for a month. But a morning class is 9 to 12:30, an afternoon is 1 to 4:30. These people are taking 2 classes a day, every day for years. And I don't know anybody who has the money or the time to do that. So I would say like a good 75-80% of the students there are between the ages of 60 and literally 100.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
well. My next question was: have you ever had anyone try to, like, you know, take you out from your
girl? It was my first month there, and when you're a new model, word gets around. It's like fresh meat. Oh, you got blah, 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 blah. And so I'm in an evening drawing class for 3.5 hours, and I'm nude. It's a figure pose, and I was like reclining on something or whatever. And so at the end of the class, I'm packing up my stuff to leave, and I'm looking at people's drawings like, oh, this is interesting. You know, I'm an art teacher, da 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 da. And so this guy who had this really weird smell, it was like a combination of like mothballs and Ben Gay. It was really weird. And so he was like, well, so how long have you been doing this? And I could tell he was nervous. And I said, well, you know, I've been here for a month or whatever. It's, you know, what, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so what do you know about art? And I said, well, I have several degrees, and I've been teaching for blah, blah, blah. And you know how some white folks can be. So I was like, yeah, I know a lot about it. And, you know, this sketch sucks or whatever. So he says, he goes, well, do you travel to see art? What galleries have you been to? And I was just like, I'm trying to get out of here and get a drink and go home. So then he screws up the courage to ask me to go to South America not just go out on a date, to go to South America with him to his summer home. And I said, there are rules about fraternizing with the models. So I'm sorry, but we don't do that here, me being the we. Yeah. And no. So then I bumped into him a month later, and he's like, oh, what are you doing? You want to get, yes, Valentine. I told you this story a million years ago. And then he's like, oh, would you like to get a drink? That's my boss, Val April. So I was like, no, I'm not. No, but it's happened a lot where, you know, and it's just like, you just sat here for 3.5 hours looking at me being nude, and then you're going to ask me out? Right. And then this other guy was like, shut up, Gary. That's my smart ass friend, Gary Helsinger. So this other guy's like, well, would you like to take a look at my etchings? And I said, how old are you? I was like, how old are you? And he goes, oh, I'm 75. And I said, you know, you're like 5 years older than that joke. No, I don't want to look at your etchings. Get away from me. So yeah, it's been, oh my God. It's been a wild ride.
Going back to what you said about the assumptions that you don't know art, or that you haven't right? Because I've gotten that in the course of my dance career, where I've gotten the assumptions by certain people that I don't know a breadth of dance outside of hip hop.
Yes.
Or you know, black. I've gotten the question, do you only book black dance companies?
Right. And
it's just so insulting.
They find out I'm a DJ, and it's like, oh, you're a DJ. What else? Do you play anything besides hip hop? And I'm like, yes. Rock, pop, soul, funk, dance. I do everything from Sinatra to Susie and the Banshees. Like, you know, what do you want? I'm good. But in this environment, because it's an institution, it was founded in 1875, and it's your typical, you know, racist, misogynistic, because it was founded by wealthy old white guys, and the majority of the students there are white. I've been here for 6 years, and I can count less than 10 Black students I've seen, and only 3 Black instructors, all of them men. There's a handful of women. There's one Japanese woman from Canada, and that's pretty much it. So once I would get off the stand and walk around and look at their stuff during the break, and I'm like, oh, you know, this is really interesting the way you did this. And it's like, oh, well, how do you know about art? And I was like, well, I got 5 degrees. I've been teaching for 25 years. You know, oh, real? Oh, you do? Oh, really? And I was like, yes, I went to school. Like, what the fuck? But, you know, that's just how it is. And I'm as polite as possible. I'm as polite as possible when I'm handing their asses back to them. So, you know.
Yeah. Because you just
But
can't
you and I know, that this is a lifetime thing. So it is what it is.
Absolutely. You know, I was just, I saw on Danny Simmons' page earlier today that I might get his title wrong, but he was, I think, the CEO or the director of Harlem School of the Arts, Eric Pryor.
Yes.
You see that? He just got hired. He's like the first African-American person to be hired as like the chief over at Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts.
Right.
That's huge.
And how many hundreds of years have gone by?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And this is exactly the same crap when President Obama started to run and then got elected. And people, oh, well, you know, it's so wonderful that finally a Black man could be, and I was like, obviously you know nothing about American history because Black men have run for president before.
Right.
And it's not that he was the first one smart enough or good enough or whatever enough. There have been millions of them who could have had this job, but where are we and what happens?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
It's America. How come
there
hasn't been, we still can't have a Jew be president? I mean, hello, you know, we came close to having a woman, and girl, and everybody else, let me tell you, that masterclass stuff, I lost my shit. Did you see Hillary Clinton's? Hillary Clinton did a masterclass, I think it went up the other day, where she read the speech she would have given had she won. And I was in a puddle of tears. It was, I mean, my heart was just because she talked about her mom and how great America is, that this happened and all that. And it's the same thing. It's like, you know, anytime racism is called out and so many white folks get so uptight and offended. And I was like, I didn't say that you own slaves. I didn't say that you're in the Klan, but you need to understand and recognize that you participate in these particular things, in these privileges. And that's just how it is, because if it was different, Martin Luther King wouldn't have been assassinated. The Kennedys wouldn't have been killed. Malcolm X wouldn't have been killed. Huey Newton. Why would we have Black Lives Matter if everything was fair and equal? Think about that.
Right.
You think that we're just doing this for fun? No, this is our lives right now. So it's like explaining water to a fish or air to a bird because you've literally been soaking in it, Madge, for a really long time. And, you know, it's like, hello, this is what's going on. So at the league, I've run into racism, sexism, ageism, every ism that you can imagine. And I have to handle it as a professional. Right. Because otherwise I would have been taken out of there in cuffs a million years ago. Right. And
that's the other thing too. Like when we're affronted or confronted, we're supposed to handle it a certain way, because otherwise,
how many cheeks do I have to turn?
Right. So can I finally show my anger and aggression? No, because then you're labeled, angry Black woman for the rest of your life. Woman. Except for just dealing with the issue that's happening right in this moment, but now you're labeled that across the board.
Right.
And I've gotten that too.
Exactly. So, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, we got to travel this path and, you know, doing the best I can. But that's why I've been constantly writing stories about this, because and I post them, you've seen them on my social media, and people are like, really? Yes, really. Just the daily grind of smacking white people trying to grab my hair, or
that was my next question, because your hair is glorious. And I've had that happen too, but you have got this mane.
But even when I had locks down to my waist for over a decade. And people, just run up a yank or just want to touch or, well, I just want to. So
no,
the policy I've adapted is if it's a woman doing this shit, then I just grab her boobs. And if it's a guy, I grab his junk and I hold on to it. And they're like, what are you doing? I just wanted to see what it was like. Why are you mad? Well, what's the problem? Oh, you mean I can't just touch you without asking permission?
Great. Oh, that's a good one.
And that's the lesson they learn. And I was like, remember this, because the next time you do this to somebody, you might get a cat busted in your ass.
Okay, come on.
I'm not about guns. I'll punch you in your face.
Right.
But, you gotta like lay off. Yeah.
Yes, you are just doing it and giving it. So if you guys are just joining us, thank you so much, first of all, on this Friday. Hey, cousin Dennis is watching.
Hey,
Des. You go, girl.
I see T. Johnson. I see Mr. Hexine. Excellent. Yes. Yay. Thank you for coming in here.
Yes, awesome. A happy Friday. I'm here with DJ Questlove. So I want to get to also your music. So tell me how the music and the DJing started.
So the DJing started when I was in junior high school, and they hired some DJ and they didn't show up. And my assistant principal of our junior high was this like, hey, because this was, 1977, 78. Oh, wow. And he was actually our paper boy, but that's another funny story. So he was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And it was literally that afternoon they canceled. And he knew that I was into music and collected records because we would talk about record collections. And he goes, you want to DJ the party? And I was like, bet. So they got me a setup. I brought my turntable in there and plugged in, and I DJ'd a school dance. And then my mom came up with the name Crystal Clear for me because, it was like, my mother, she went to Kutztown, was now Kutztown University, to study art. And she went there with a German woman named Crystal, and she loved the name. So that's how I got the name. But she was like, Crystal Clear, that's a good DJ name because, you're clear and concise. And I was, okay, that's good. So I've had it since 1977.
Yes.
And I did all kinds of crazy parties. And then when I went to college in Philly, I didn't DJ at all from 83 to 85. And then I moved here. I DJ'd a bit. I did it in LA and then came back. And then when I came back in 1990, that's when I reconnected with, hey, Coleman. That's when I reconnected with King Britt.
Yes.
And Daz. So I used to do, I used to DJ at Silk City with them. And then, of course, the whole crew, Rich Medina, Cosmo Baker, and Cosmic Cat, remember her from Canada? We DJ'd together. And, Coleman, I know where the bodies are buried. I can say the same thing about you.
Okay, I'm like, don't try it.
All right, don't try it up in here. So that's how I came about DJing in Philadelphia. And the 5 spot, I was on with Amir all the time. So great. I love the 5 spot.
Oh, that place burned down, right?
It did eventually burn down. Yeah. I think it closed first and then it burnt down.
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So here's to people who have never lived in Philly and don't know anything about Philadelphia. Everything is always on fire in Philadelphia because everything was made out of wood in Philly. Thank you, Coleman. I am the best DJ. Everything is made out of wood in Philadelphia. And without fail, and you know this, Danny, and you can raise your hand to it, every day without fail on the nightly news at 6 o'clock, dun, 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 da, 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 da. Oh, there's a major fire in West Philadelphia. There's a major fire in North.
Girl,
everything's on fire, right? Everything's on fire in Philly. Yeah, like New York, everything is made out of stone and brick mostly because they learned lessons from Philadelphia where everything was on fire. So, yeah.
So I was explaining when you came on. You probably heard me hear you say that. So Crystal and I have been following each other on social media for, I don't know, a good 4 or 5 years probably. I just would see your name and just like friended up. And then this past summer, finally, in New York, I was our mutual friend, DJ Lee Jones, who's famous in Philadelphia and around the world, I met Lee when I was, 16. He was working at the Sound of Chestnut. We became fast friends.
That's
I've known him
right,
ever
Sound of
since.
Chestnut Street. Oh shit.
And so
Oh my
Lee was
god.
in town. I think he had some meetings with Live Nation or something, but it was on his birthday, around his
Yes,
birthday.
it was Live Nation, and any other time that he had come up here, I had a rehearsal. I was posing, like whatever. We could never meet up. And then finally, oh, that's right, Coleman. Especially after Eagles win, that's when motherfuckers in Philly set shit on fire. Hey, Kara. He was like, I'm going to be in town. I'm going to be at MSG. Can you meet me there? And, blah, blah, blah. And I was, okay, bet I had the time. So I met up with, he was like, where should we go? And, post COVID, well, first of all, it's like all those raggedy ass bars around there, all nasty. And,
Right.
And then I was like, well, the least raggediest one is going to be this Irish bar. They got a little food. It'll be fine. So I met him. We go in there and we're sitting down and he goes, oh yeah. And he was texting you. And he goes, oh yeah, so Danny's going to stop by. And I was like, I just said to myself, I was like, Danny who? I know like 800 Dannys.
Right.
And I didn't say anything because then he was talking about what he was doing. And then you came walking in and I'm like, what? Danny G? And he goes, I told you Danny was coming. I was like, bitch, we know 85 Dannys. What the hell? Yeah.
Finally, it was awesome. It was
Finally,
awesome.
after all these years, yes.
All these years.
Yep. Fantastic.
I mean, the nude modeling, I think, is great, especially starting it at 50, when most women are super self-conscious about their physiques. I personally, especially with my, my dancer brain, it took me forever, I got to tell you, to get comfortable with my physique, which I know is just, it's a dancer thing. And, I love the body I'm in now, my little curves, my little stuff. But like, for most women, that's not the norm, I don't think. But I think you get into a certain, like, confidence, or sort of like who cares anymore? I mean, you want to keep in shape, you want to still be attractive.
Right.
But
and in this context,
in the 50s.
Yeah. And in this context, it's like a doctor sees asses all day long or whatever. I'm just another body kind of thing. But, I grew up being super self-conscious because I've always been a foot taller than everybody else. I grew up being the only black kid in school from nursery school through high school. I have had this rack and I've had this ass since I was a little kid. So, I've always been the biggest and the curviest. And to get sexual attention from grown men starting at 10 years old, being sexually harassed, I was like, oh, I wish I could get rid of this kind of thing. And then I didn't really get into my body until I was probably in my 30s, I guess, because there's still a little bit of me where I'm still taken aback when a man finds me attractive. Like for a guy to be like, well, you're smoking hot, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, really? You think I'm hot? What? Like, didn't I just see you dating a bag of hangers a week ago? This is weird. Like, it's so strange. So when I got into it for this job, it was just like, it's just a matter of course. But now I'm definitely more self-conscious and I don't do figure anymore because I'm not comfortable doing it anymore. And I'm the costume queen. I'm clothed all the time. Like I'll do a robe and a bra or something, but you will not get me fully nude anymore.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
I stopped because I'm not comfortable with my own body doing that anymore.
Really? And why is that?
Something just hit me all of a sudden. I don't know what or why. Well, I'll tell you. A smidge of it is, Valentine likes that, a bag of hangers. A smidge of it is when you're posing in front of people and there's supposed to be a very specific artist's gaze looking at you. And you are a figure that I'm drawing. You're a figure that I'm painting. You're paying attention to light and shadow, color, the curves, like whatever. And they want, as anybody who knows this much about our history, you see paintings of what kind of women? Voluptuous women, the Botticellis, the this, the that. So that is what they want. They don't want a really skinny woman with small boobs and no ass, and you can see her ribs and all that. Unless you're doing anatomical things, that's different. Yeah. So there have been a multitude of times where I'm sitting there and I'm looking, well, not obviously. When you're posing, you have to look as far away as possible because obviously you can't stare at something that's right here because then you're going to go cross-eyed. and this class is 3.5 hours long. No. So I'm looking the furthest away at the room. And of course, there's going to be people in my periphery and in my way with the easels or whatever. But every once in a while, I'll look at people's faces to see what they're getting from me, because overall, it is a big time energy exchange. And I love it when the room is full of people, because that way it's like bing, 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 and we're getting it. There's nothing I hate more than going into a gigantic studio and there's only one person painting me. And I'm just like, oh, I'm drained. It's so exhausting. So when oh, there goes my curtain. When I see these people, and they're looking at me, and I can see the lasciviousness in men, where they're just like, oh, hey, you know, this is kind of hot. I'm drawing her boob, blah, blah, blah. And I hear gears turning, and I see their facial expression, and that is what really put me off.
I hear you.
I can't anymore. And then it's like some creepy old man, like, But even if it was a hot young guy, I'm still like, no thanks. Yeah.
Can I ask a practical question? Because I've been curious about this. Like, I'm always with women's bodies and what we go through. Maybe if this may have been your case or not, being that you started at 50. I don't know. If it's too personal, you can tell me not to ask.
No, you can ask me anything.
You're on your cycle.
Oh, well, I got another story about that. So when my boyfriend broke up with me before I started this job, it was August. I started this job in September, like a month and a half later. And then I did my first pose. It was October. So I was so out of my mind and distraught and destroyed by this relationship ending and the way that it ended. I couldn't think of anything else except going through that and then going to work, going through that and going to work. And when I first started, I was working practically around the clock. Like, I had 3 classes a day, 4 classes a day, all the time, 7 days a week, every day. So I didn't really have time to think about anything else, because I'm sitting there staring at a wall 15 feet away. Like, what else am I thinking about? So it was November, and I was at my locker putting my stuff away. I'm getting ready to leave. And one of the other models comes in, this young girl. She's like 22, 23. And she says, oh my God, Crystal, my period started. Oh, unexpectedly. Do you have any tampons or anything? And she's like freaking out. And I went, tampons. Tampons? Tampons. This sounds familiar. She's like, do you have anything? And I was like, oh yeah. So I reached in my locker. I had a box of tampons, and I handed her the whole box. And she goes, I only need 1 or 2. And I was like, no, take the box. I don't need them anymore. And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, I'm done. I'm out. And she goes, oh my God, are you? And I was like, girl, I'm 53 years old. I'm not pregnant. No. I said, I'm in menopause. And she said, how do you know? And I said, I know my body, and I know that I'm done. I'm out. So then I went to my gynecologist a couple weeks later, and she goes, oh, no, honey, you're too young for full-blown menopause. It's called perimenopause. Don't worry, it'll be back. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, bitch, I'm done. I'm out. And then she goes, no, it's going to come back. And I said, I'm done. I'm telling you that I'm done. And she goes, well, as a doctor. And I said, you want to make it interesting? I was like, you want to make a bet? And then she goes, well, ethically, I can't do that. And I said, well, let's step outside. So we walked outside, and I said, I'm going to bet you $100. I'm going to be back here in 6 months, and my period is not coming back. I'm done. So we shook on it, and 6 months later, I walked out of there with $100. That was it. So I've been in full-blown menopause since then. And then I had to think back. I did have one symptom. I had hot flashes. And this was when I was in that first long pose in Sharon's class. And every morning at 10:30, right in the middle of my chest, it felt like a volcano. And it just went, and it radiated all through my body. I started dripping sweat. And I'm sitting there holding this pose, like leaning over this chair, sweating like a motherfucker. And I'm like, oh, like wiping it away. And then it stopped. And it lasted 1 week, 5 days, Monday through Friday. And then that was it. Nothing else ever happened.
It is no joke.
Thank you, Black Jesus, because I did not have to endure anything else. I had 5 days of hot flashes.
I swear to God. this is so real and raw, and I knew it would be. I'm gonna have you back for a part two.
Oh,
this
sure.
has been amazing, and we've only covered a snippet of what I want to talk to you about. But before I let you go, because I gotta run over to the theater soon.
Oh yeah.
Please tell us about your podcast.
Oh, my podcast. So my podcast. I started writing a column for a website that went under in 2018, and my idea was, because I used to have these listening parties with friends where we would pick a topic and then everybody would bring their choice to represent the topic. So with my friend Mary Agnes. And I was like, hey, I want to do this thing comparing and contrasting original versions and cover versions. So the jackass who hired me, he was like, okay, that's a cool idea, whatever. Chicks don't know about music. Yeah. So I wrote the column, and it did really well. And then the website went under, and my relationship with him ended. So then my best friend, Paul Bertolino, who's my engineer on my podcast, Dr. Paul Bertolino, who is an amazing singer, songwriter, and musician in his own right, he had a podcast. He started his own podcast where he would talk about like his top 10 favorite songs from, 1960, whatever, or anything like that. And I said, I want to do a podcast. So I contacted my former editor at that website, and he said, well, you're not beholden to us. You own that as far as I'm concerned. So do a podcast. So I started doing it. Has been 3 years now. Yeah. So I do it twice a month.
Oh, wow.
I do it twice a month. It's called Original versus Cover with DJ Crystal Clear. And it's been a lot of fun and educational for myself, because I do all this research, aside from the ones that I've known for 40 years or whatever. And it's really great to do it with Paul, because Paul is one of the most incredible musicologists I've ever known in my life. Like, you say, like, name all the Beatles albums in order with all the songs, and he could do it from memory. I mean, it's crazy. And his steez is particularly 60s and 70s. Nice. When you listen to his music, he's really, and he has a falsetto to beat the band. That's why he does Purple Rain with me, my Purple Rain tribute, because
nice. I know, because I wanted to talk about your music and your band.
We
have to do a January set part 2.
We'll do a part 2, definitely. Yeah.
Yes. Well, listen, guys, her link to her podcast that she is speaking of, Originals versus Covers, right, with DJ Crystal Clear. Yep. The link is in my bio. Now, in the podcast link, is there information about you and other things that you're working on, or they should just follow you on Instagram?
It's just basically follow me on Instagram. When you guys go to my account, I have the link to my podcast up there. I'm going to put up a new episode later tonight, actually, that we just recorded the other day. Episode 27, I think it is. Yeah. So it's twice a month, because I don't have time to do it every week, and nobody's paying me yet. So I'm going to that's the next level. I need to get paid for advertising. Yeah.
Same with me.
And get paid. It's like everything that we do, especially New Yorkers. You're a singer, you're a dancer, you're an actor. You do a lot of shit for free because you got to do it. You can't not do it, and you just do it. So people have been really digging it, and I want to continue on with it. So so check that out when you get a chance, everybody.
Well, listen, thank you for jumping on. I know you were running home from modeling and working.
And now I'm going to meet Valentine. I'm going to go down to the Lower East Side to Planet Rose and sing some karaoke.
Oh, yes.
Because I have a rehearsal for my set New Year's Eve on Sunday, and I always go to karaoke to do songs to warm up, which is a good way to warm up.
Where will you be New Year's Eve?
On New Year's Eve, the musical consigliere that I work with, called F-Bomb, we do a tribute show the last Saturday of every month at Arlene's Grocery in the Lower East Side, and we're doing New Year's Eve, and I'm producing a set, and it's music from 79 to 81. It's 10 songs. Ooh. I'm singing 2 of them. I got a crack band. I got great singers. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm going to come.
And my set, because we're doing 5 sets that night, and my set will probably be around 10 o'clock, somewhere around there. That's right, Gary. Decimated. Yes. Arlene's Grocery, decimated.
My God. Well, please, I'll check back with you more for information on that, and I'll definitely post about that as well. And I'll probably see it on your pages too. But thank you for this. Thank you for stopping in. Thank you for being so open and just like truthful with us. I love it.
People who know me know that there are no shorts here. I keep it real. I ain't got time for any kind of bullshit or games on no level of my life.
Love it.
Yes.
Yes. Well, if I don't see you, well, I'm going to definitely try to come New Year's Eve. I want to see that. And then I'll definitely, we'll do a part 2 in the new year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know about New Year's Eve. I'll put you on the guest list.
Oh, thanks. Yay. All right, bye, Queen.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Do you know how to X out?
I do know how to X out. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, but wait. Are we going to do some weird filters for you? Oh, wait. Let's try something weird.
Okay.
Ooh, filter. Oh, yeah. That's good. Oh, ooh. Oh, my eyes. Ooh. Oh, my God. That's terrible. What about this one? The blue.
All right. I know.
Crazy. All right.
They're so fun.
See ya.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my God, that was so great. Did you guys enjoy that? She's amazing, right? Thank you, 2 gorgeous queens. Oh, thank you for that. So I definitely need to get her back on because there's so much more I want to ask her about her music and her life. That was incredible. But now I've got to jump over to the Kimmel Theater here in Philadelphia. I am running to see Philadanco to help them celebrate 50 years plus 1 in existence, a Philadelphia dance company. You know, one of our American treasures that we must keep this company thriving. And I'm also to thank you, Crystal, and also to celebrate Joe Myers Brown, who on Christmas Day will be 90 years young. So thank you guys for watching. This will be archived on my IGTV quickly, and then on my YouTube channel after that. So subscribe if you can. I thank you for watching, and I will see you next Friday with Charmaine Warren, who's a dear friend of mine, a legend in the dance world as well, and it's going to be wonderful. So I will see you next week, and have a great weekend. Mwah.